I want to celebrate you for a moment. And I want you to think about a project or initiative that you were involved in that was a major success. Right? Any time in your career, recent, long time ago, a project that you were involved in one capacity or another that was a major success. And I want you to think about what were the characteristics or attributes that you brought to that project or initiative that your role in helping it to be a success. What were the characteristics or attributes that you personally contributed that helped make that successful? So I want you to think about one or two of those characteristics or attributes in your head. You got them? Okay. Now this is risky because it's a huge room, but I'm going to ask you just to shout them out to me. Just give me a couple examples. Compassion, motivation, humor, I love that one. Organized, detail-oriented, creativity, over here. Helping others be successful, leadership. Okay, bringing people together. A couple more. Enthusiasm. I love this one, sense of humor. A lot of funny people over here. What else? Innovation. Problem solving. These are great words. Don't you feel good about yourself? Those are the things, those are the characteristics and attributes that you brought, and I'm sure there are many, many others that came to mind, that helped make that project or that initiative successful. So hold that thought. We're going to come back to that in just a moment. We're going to define the difference between knowledge, skill, and natural talent. Okay? Seems pretty straightforward on the surface. I cannot tell you the paradigm shift that those three words defined make in most organizations and for us as individuals. So knowledge is learned behavior. Would you all agree with that? Seems pretty straightforward. You gather knowledge through a learning process, right? So it's the ability to read the recipe and memorize, right, the brownie recipe. Or memorize, in the healthcare world, the care path. Or memorize the steps in the POS system, right? Knowledge. We can learn it, and it's cognitive. We can recite it. Skills are the ability to translate that knowledge into action. I can actually bake the brownies and people will eat them. This is where I kind of miss the translation a little bit. Baking is not my gift. So the ability to translate knowledge into action, the ability to understand and be able to recite a care path, and the ability to execute that in surgery or in the care for a patient. All right? You with me so far? It's very straightforward. Talent, and again, skills are teachable. I can teach you how to do that. We can side by side, and I can shadow, and assuming I have the capacity, I can teach that. Talent is the non-teachable. This is where people get really hung up. Lots of healthy debates about this. Talent is the non-teachable. It is a spontaneous pattern of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. It's that which we can't teach. It's innate. It's part of your DNA. So let's think about those attributes and characteristics that made you all successful in those projects and initiatives. Did you hear any knowledge and skill? Can you really teach somebody to be innovative? Can you really teach somebody to have a good sense of humor? I wish you could. That would be a real trick. Can you really teach someone to be compassionate? Can you really teach someone to be detail-oriented? You can prop it up. You can give them a Franklin planner or a toolkit or a checkbox, a worksheet, right? But we all know those people, my daughter being one of them, that attention to detail is not their gift. She tells me that all the time when I critique her cleaning of her room. It's not my gift, Mom. It does come back to bite you. Let me just warn you now. I'll caution you around the rest of this presentation. Be careful how you use it. So what we know is, and we've done this study as leaders. I told you that I normally do this kind of work with organizations and leaders trying to build a talent-based organization. And what we often do is we select people based on skills and knowledge. And what we realize is the things that make people successful are their natural talents. And we just evidence that in our own examples, that the things that we contributed weren't how much knowledge we had or how much we knew or ability to execute as much as it was that which uniquely is ours and innate to us. So, thinking more then, going deeper about natural talent, we're going to break this down a little bit. It's a natural ability, not acquired through effort, that provides intrinsic satisfaction, results in spontaneous behavior, and can be cultivated to near perfect performance. Well, that's kind of a mouthful. So let's break it down. It's a natural ability. I think we've covered that, right? We've exhausted that. DNA, innate, God-given. You pick what works for you in that. Not acquired through effort. So it's not like I worked at it and I struggled with it right? You've heard the phrase, don't try to teach the pig to sing. It annoys the pig and frustrates you. Right? If it's not there, it's just why bother? So it's not through effort. It gives you intrinsic satisfaction. What does that mean? It means that when I'm doing that thing that is so natural to me and it's such a gift, it feels good, right? I love balancing my checkbook. Maybe not so much. But it feels good. I love painting, or I love problem solving, or I love being in strategic meetings and where we're collaborating and coming up with great ideas. Or I love being creative, or innovative, or making people laugh. So it gives you that intrinsic satisfaction. It results in spontaneous behavior. You can't help yourself. When it's a natural talent, you can't help yourself. It's that person that walks into, some of you will go, oh, so me, and others will be like, really? It's that person that walks into a really busy airport, for example, and there's lines and chaos, and they walk in and they're so annoyed because they say, if they would just put one more person there and cue the lines this way, this would be so much easier, right? My daughter Jordan, she just assumes the chaos. She just part of it. It would never occur to her. Not her natural talent. She is very talented. I'll share more of that later. That's not one of them. So it's spontaneous. You can't help yourself. You just see it, you just know it, and it's just where you naturally go. And it can be cultivated to near perfect performance. That's the cool thing about natural talent. Exponential success when you focus in an area of strength. Exponential success. Most of us, however, society has trained us to fix our weaknesses, right? The line of people that would be lined up behind me with a red ink pen to tell me all the things wrong with me and how I should fix them. Is that not corporate America? Is that not the society in which we live? So exponential success when we focus in an area of talent. So getting to that point, most organizations and society, and we as product of that, follow suit. We're both, strong word, but a victim of that, as well as leaders sometimes contributing to this myth, and that is that each person can be competent, learn to be competent in almost anything. And that each person's greatest room for growth is in their greatest area of weakness. We lead like this. We lead like this. So that people look at it and go, oh, that's so crazy. We do this. We do this in performance appraisals. We do this in coaching sessions. How often do we mitigate those weaknesses and find somebody else to do that work when it's appropriate versus constantly wagging our finger? And how often do we do that to ourselves? They don't think that I'm very good at that. I'll prove them wrong. Let's focus on all this stuff that doesn't come naturally and ignore all of these beautiful talents that we could be having exponential success with. 8 out of 10 employees. This blows me away. 8 out of 10 employees feel someone miscast in their role. There's some percentage of this group of women, and I think there's a handful of men scattered around, but women, feel somewhat miscast in their role. Meaning, you don't jump up every day, thrilled to go to work, passionate about what you do, feeling a sense of purpose, knowing that this is a hobby, and I'm fortunate enough to get paid. It's to go fight that battle again. It doesn't feel good, and it doesn't feel right. Interest is another one. So it's not interest alone. It's not like, oh, that makes my heart sing, so I'm going to go be a professional singer. That might be a really neat desire if you really do have a talent to sing. But interest alone doesn't necessarily correlate to success. So we have a lot of people in our organizations that they sign up, they want that next role. Sometimes we want that next role for the wrong reasons, right? The interests may not be aligned. So I'll give you an example, and I'm glad Jordan's not here today because she'd think I was picking on her, but she's 21 now. When she was about 8 years old, my daughter was sitting in the back seat of the car, and we were driving along, and she said, "Mom, I've decided I know what I want to be when I grow up." "Great, honey. What is that?" She says, "I want to be one of those people that people come to you and they tell you their problems." I said, "Oh, so like a therapist or a psychiatrist, psychologist, that kind of thing." "Yeah." I said, "Oh, that's a great profession. Why would that interest you?" She says, "Well, at school, everybody comes to me and tells me their problems, and I always know what to tell them to do to fix it." I said, "Okay, well, Jordan, that's great, and that's neat that people, have that kind of trust in you. But, honey, when you're in a role like that, what you have to be also is a really good listener, because oftentimes you're asking questions and you're really helping people to kind of find their way through their own problem." Kind of a heady conversation for an 8-year-old, but find your way through their own problem, and so you really have to be an excellent listener as they sort of resolve their issues. So there's a pregnant pause from the back seat, to which she then pipes up and says, "Well, what's a job where I get to do all the talking?" She's a singer and a songwriter by trade, so I think she's found her calling, where she gets to hold an audience. So interest doesn't always correlate either. So we really, as individuals, again, taking this back to you as individuals, we really have to explore what is it about that interests us, and what is our motivation behind it. Is it truly aligned to our natural gifts and talents, or are we interested in it because of other motivations that perhaps aren't necessarily aligned? And the list goes on. I don't want to be on a team where everybody gets a turn at quarterback, right? I don't want to be on that team where everybody gets a turn at playing third base. I want a team where the best person for third base is playing third base, and the best person for first base is at first base, and so on. And if I'm the best pitcher among them, that's the role I want to play. But I don't want to be rotated to center field because it's fair. So building a varsity team means everyone has a role, and we're playing to and leveraging their talent. How do you find that spot in the organization that allows you to play to and leverage your talent? How do you make certain that you're on a varsity team? We talk a lot about just versus fair. Justice means it's the right thing for you individually, but it might not be the right thing for everybody holistically. It means that some people need to leave a little early on Tuesdays because they've got an education requirement, a child to pick up, or whatever, but that doesn't mean that everybody in the office leaves early on Tuesdays, because that's fair. There's other things to create justice. And justice, quite frankly, the most just thing you can do is make certain that you're in the right seat on the right bus at the right time, and that you're putting people in the right seat on the right bus at the right time. Because the minute we promote someone out of their area of talent, and we relocate them and their families sometimes, and then we realize, oh, they don't really like people very much, and this is kind of a relationship role, and one of us has to make a decision that this isn't working out. How unjust is that? How disruptive is that? The only sustainable competitive advantage is around aligning your talents in the right spot. For you, if you focus on strengths, work feels like a hobby, greater sense of success and achievement, intrinsic satisfaction, right, that deep inside, higher levels of engagement, and lower stress. And here's the reality. Behavior breeds behavior. Behavior breeds behavior. You think that when you have a bad day over and over and over again, because you're struggling to do the stuff that doesn't make your heart sing, when you come home to your spouse or significant other or children, that your grumpy mood doesn't translate, right? Do you think we give the same level of internal and external service when we're miserable in our jobs? And how does that then manifest itself in terms of stress and ulcers and headaches and lack of sleep and heart palpitations? It's really about finding your calling. If it's a job, you approach your job and focus on getting paid, right? I clock in, I clock out, it's a job, get a paycheck. If it's a career, I'm thinking about, this might be a stepping stone to my next position. It may be an opportunity for advancement. I'm thinking about it in terms of that kind of a career journey. If it's a passion and if it's a calling, your first focus is on the actual work that you're doing and the joy and the love and fulfillment that you get out of that work. It's a sense of ownership. But imagine a future. Imagine your future where you are paid to do what you love, where you're fulfilling your calling, where you're adding value to the world around you, and you're fully unleashing your God-given talents. That is my hope for all of you. Thank you for your time today.